such as the perimeter of y plus 10 meters, the area of the rectangle is 5y. We know that if we add up all the sides of all these sides of a rectangle, it will equal the perimeter, which is 2y plus 10. So I need two sides of 3x's, and I also need two sides of 2x plus 1's. So this is my first equation. And then I'm going to write a second equation that relates to the area of the rectangle. Well, the area of a rectangle I know is length width, so I'm going to take 3x and multiply it by a 2x plus 1, and that is going to equal a 5y. Before we start to even think about solving this system, let's expand through our brackets, collector like terms, and simplify things a little bit. So 2 times 3x is a 6x. This is going to give me a 4x plus 2 equals a 2y plus 10 on the right side of my equation. I'm going to also run this through my set of brackets in my second equation, which is a squared plus 3x is equal to a 5y. All right, again, before we go to solve this, I'm going to just simplify the first equation here. So moving over here, I get a 10x. I'm going to move the 10 over to this side of the equation just so that my constant values are being collected together. So I have a 10x minus 8 is equal to 2y, and then I have a 6x squared plus 3x is equal to a 5y. So at this point now you have to decide how you're going to solve the system of equations, whether you use substitution or elimination. Both are completely legit or possible. I am going to choose to solve by substitution. So I'm going to take this equation and I'm going to solve that equation for y, which gives me a 5x minus 4 equals y. I just divided everything by 2. And now I'm going to take this expression for y and substitute it in to my other equation. So by doing that, I get a 6x squared plus 3x equals 5 times a 5x minus 4. We're going to expand through our brackets. This becomes a quadratic equation that we'll eventually have to make equal 0. So now I'm going to move everything to the left side of the equation to make it equal to 0. This is going to become a minus 22x because I'm subtracting 25x plus 20 equals 0. I am now ready to finally solve this variable of x. So before I start to solve, I'm going to take out a common factor of 2. And now I want to factor this. Okay. This should be a minus 5 minus 2 when we factor. So my solutions for x are 5 over 3 and x equals 2. So now that you've solved this, now you have to take this information and go back to your question to figure out what you're going to information, right? So thinking about what x represents part of my dimensions to the rectangle. And the question is asking me to find the possible dimensions. So in this specific question, I do not have to go back and substitute back in to find my y value. My y value relates to perimeter, and it doesn't ask us anywhere to find those values, so I don't necessarily have to solve for y here. But I do have to figure out the dimensions. So the dimensions of my rectangle are going to be 3 times my x value, which is 5/3. 5, so that would be my length. And then I also want to take a 2 times 5/3 plus 1, which gives me 13 over 3. So for this x value of 5/3, the dimensions of my rectangle 5 by 13 meters. Now you need to find the other possible dimensions using an x value of 2. I'm going to now substitute in 2 for my equation, or for my expressions. So 2 times 3 is 6, and then 2 times 2 plus 1 gives me 5. So for this possibility, dimensions would be a 6 by 5 rectangle. And both of these are possible solutions to the question.